Everyone needs to hold off on the salt shaker. Why? Because the latest research shows that 3 million people around the world are dying every year from the consequences of excessive salt consumption. When we consume excess salt, it stays in our bloodstream. Think about eating something salty. You get thirsty, right? Well, your blood gets thirsty too, so it sucks up more water to try and dilute the saltiness. That in turn creates a greater volume of blood, which now has to flow through the same sized blood vessels, which pushes up your blood pressure, causing your heart to work harder. High blood pressure is a really sneaky condition because it has no symptoms. In South Africa, more than 1 in 3 adults live with high blood pressure, and it's responsible for 1 in every 2 strokes and 2 in every 5 heart attacks. Hence, its not so nice nickname, the silent killer. So, how much salt can we consume? Both local and international guidelines recommend that we limit our salt consumption to 6 grams, around 1 teaspoon each day. Are we listening? A recent study found that South Africans of all colors and creeds consume around 1 kilogram of extra salt each year. Makes me thirsty just talking about it. Removing the salt from our tables is obviously a smart move, especially in our country where almost half of our excess salt is added by individuals physically to their food, which really highlights the lack of awareness of the dangers that salt poses to our health. But the reality is, even if you aren't shaking, grinding, or pinching, chances are you're still eating far too much salt. You'd be surprised at how many shifty sodium bombs you eat every day. You may be avoiding the obvious ones like salted chips and processed foods, but it's easy to overlook some of the less apparent ones. Condiments, packet soups, stock cubes, gravies, breakfast cereals, and tinned foods are all bursting with salt. And the number one culprit? Bread. Studies show that bread alone can contribute up to 1/4 of your or my total salt intake. The good news is we can retrain our taste buds and reduce salty cravings. All it takes is 3 weeks of less salt, and your preference for salty food will perceptibly peter out. So aside from throwing it over your left shoulder, how do we become less salty? After playing hide and seek with your salt cellar and seasoning your food with herbs and spices instead, unleash your inner Sherlock Holmes and give food labels a thorough investigation. Your first choice should always be fresh or frozen, but if that's not always an option, opt for products labeled low in salt or sodium, no added salt, or salt-free. Your food may taste bland at first, but your taste buds are generally quick off the mark and will adapt soon enough. You may even start to wonder why everything tastes so salty.